Internet. It's Paul, it's Matt, the Dork Lords. We are here talking about Umbrella Academy on Netflix. Episodes 3 and 4. Extraordinary and Man on the Moon. Bum, bum, bum. Okay. Because this is a story with a lot of moving parts. There is a lot happening.
There's a lot.
But I would say the focus of the main plot lines for each of these 2 episodes focuses on our apparently time-traveling assassins, Hazel and Cha-Cha's search for number 5.
Yes.
So, in episode 3, their search leads them to the Hargreaves household. Huge fight scene, takes place. That's kind of the centerpiece fight of episode 3. Yeah. They then kidnap Klaus, and episode 4 involves them interrogating Klaus to get information about the whereabouts of number 5.
Yes.
And then it leads to, unfortunately, the death of Diego's girlfriend, the cop, who shows up to try to rescue Klaus. Actually, kind of succeeds in rescuing Klaus, more or less. But it gets killed in the process. And so those are, obviously there's a lot more that happens in those events, but generally speaking, those are a lot of screen time is spent in our Hazel and Cha-Cha's search for 5.
Sure. The
quest for 5. Anyway, back to number 3 here. So it's called Extraordinary, the episode is, and that is most likely just a reference to the title of Vanya's book. So we see a flashback to when Vanya decided to write her tell-all book about the Hargreaves. And she wrote the little note to her dad, like...
I missed it.
Oh, it's in the
forward or
flyer.
The credit.
She just writes a little, she signs a copy for him. And she's like, because I figured, why not?
Oh,
that's her. So that's her. Her explanation to her dad for hey, by the way. So we see though that it didn't result in a bunch of fame and celebrity for her. Apparently,
no. Diego was punching her face on a punching bag there.
Yeah. No. Well, certainly her family hates her for it.
Picture of her face.
Yeah,
on a punching
there
bag.
was a lot of enmity from the family for her writing that thing. But I'm saying it didn't also bring her a lot of cash. Obviously, she's living kind of in a little apartment.
Yeah, no, she has an initial book signing where people were there, and then the subsequent one.
Yeah, the montage is
mocking it down 50% off.
Yeah.
Why would still be in the window? I don't know.
Yeah, just so we could see.
But whatever.
Because we also see that there are when she's looking in the window at comic books, there are actual comic books of the Umbrella Academy. So theoretically their missions became serialized in a comic as well, which maybe was popular, or maybe more popular.
Well, the people know about them, because the guy is like, "Yo, weren't you one of those Umbrella people?"
Maybe that even inspired her to write her book. Maybe seeing these comic books about her family, oh, well, those are making money. I'm the non-powered one. I'll write my own book about our experience.
Sure, but anyway. I would presume it was more about that she didn't feel she was special, and then maybe this is how I can be, get recognition, is by being the documenter of this.
Do you think it was a revenge plot? Or was she screw you guys, or was it just more this is therapy? Or
I think it comes in therapy, and also not feeling like she was special. So it's okay, well, I will document.
Because it is Extraordinary is the title of the book. So.
Right. Well, yeah, they are.
Right. Well, but feeling like you're the one non-extraordinary person in the group, which we see a glimpse that's certain. It's certainly not true.
Yes.
But we see by the end of episode 4, I think we can kind of theorize as to why that might not be true. That she is in fact extraordinary. She actually does have powers. She just doesn't realize it. And she's been told so many times that she doesn't have powers that she's believed it.
Yeah, it's a really nitpicky thing.
Sure.
I think they should have given the young Vanya some direction to seem like she not just I'm just happily in my room playing the violin. Okay.
Well, maybe she found joy in her. I don't know, playing, but okay. So we do see the violin.
She just doesn't seem like the actress is a young girl.
She seemed well adjusted.
Yeah, that's what she seemed like.
Okay.
She should have been
Oh, this is great.
You gonna pay attention
I love
to me?
being verbally abused every day.
Yeah.
Feeling lesser than everyone around me.
Yeah, and also I think they could have, Kurt as well. Wait, Kurt?
Klaus
could have done a little better on his casting as well.
Oh, sure, as a little kid,
They
Klaus.
just let those kids in there.
The kids come up the works.
Yeah.
So we also see Vanya in modern day. She plays the violin regularly, and she's in apparently it's an orchestra. It's hard to tell if it's professional. It feels like it's a professional orchestra. Like maybe it's for money. In other words, it's not like a group that just meets as a hobby.
Yeah.
Do you get a feeling like?
Yeah, I would assume that. I mean.
So, and the fact that she's playing for cash means that she's got to be a certain level of skill, and she's giving lessons. But she confides in the concert mistress, who's
Is that what they actually call them?
Yeah, there's concert master and a concert mistress. I know a little bit about this.
Concert master.
Just back in the day, I did the violin. I was a violin nerd who carried my case around school. I was a concert master in junior high, and in high school I joined like the all-city orchestra and was not the concert master.
Because of your love of Sherlock Holmes?
Because of my love of Sherlock Holmes. Yeah. I was way back in the back. So I understand the system by which you attempt to, say, move up chairs. She, at this point, she's third chair and seems to be languishing, and, the concert mistress is like, oh, well, you should stick to something you feel passionate about. Anyway, you're probably wasting your time here. Leave. Which is mean. But I could kind of see maybe somebody doing that kind of thing. Or like,
sure.
Here, I'm just telling you the hard truth about art kind of thing. As one who, hey, I've got it made. Whatever.
Yeah, I mean, I think she's coming off as crueler than Baldwin.
You mean from
Counterpart?
From Counterpart.
Yeah.
No. Okay.
She wasn't ever. Maybe she was a little fussy, and people had to wait for her. And,
you're talking about the alter ego who was playing the violin.
Yeah. She had the fuss, but she wasn't. I didn't see her being mean to anybody, telling her, "What are you doing here? You don't need to do anything." So
I'm, the idea of when you're in a let's say third chair, fourth chair. You can challenge the person ahead of you, and
to a death fight.
Really limits the numbers of the people in the orchestra, but it's the good ones. It's a Darwinian you can challenge, and then if the conductor thinks that you outplay them in a particular piece of music, you can move up chairs, and so it's like a ladder system. So at this point, there's this other woman who's at the top of the ladder, and so much like her book writing, it's like Vanya in her life with the Hargreaves is you're the anonymous extra. In her book, she tries to write a book called Extraordinary, and it just goes anonymous and nobody cares. Then she plays the violin, and she's in the background, supporting people who supposedly have more talent than her. So it's kind of there's a cycle that she's in at the moment.
It's very Charlie Brownie.
Yeah, all right. I see that. Pull the football. So we also see what we hinted at in the last episode, which was, there's something on the video about Hargreaves' death. And Allison shows Luther that, in fact, it looks like Grace, the robot mother, may have had something to do with Hargreaves' death. She's standing in the room, he's dying, and she's apparently doing nothing about it. I think what we learned by the end of this episode is it's not that she was hostile and killed him, but just she is malfunctioning and starting to. It's a version of dementia. I mean, what they're comparing her to is an older person who is going through dementia, even though it's a robot who is slowing down.
Right.
And so her faculties are not at their peak at this point. We do see a flashback to her, kind of getting everybody ready for a mission.
Oh yeah. Well, that was not Santiago. Diego's memory, though, because he's the one who's most attached to her.
Yes. Yes.
So
in fact, that's a big. They call everyone. All of our kids are called together for a meeting because they're gonna meet. They're gonna meet on whether or not to deactivate Mom.
Yeah.
And Diego is one of the few. Well, not. There's an equal split, but.
Well, it seems like I almost called him Kurt again. Klaus is going against it just really to piss off. Yeah, just to piss off.
He has no real interest in whether Mom is on or not, but wants to just do something opposite of Luther. Diego has an actual investment, emotional investment in Mom, and we see part of the reason why is in the past he had a pronounced stutter. And she helped him through it. And so, yeah, he was close to her. It is a very powerful scene when Diego decides it's time, in some ways, to let go of his mother. And she's trying to help him through his stuttering, even as she's dying herself.
Dying, yeah. She's still...
the reason that he decides to eventually deactivate her is there's a huge fight in the house, and she has no knowledge of it. So it's all happening around her, like dig, 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 dig. And
Vanya says perhaps non sequitously, but she says that that her father said that she was supposed to be a protector as well, and she's not really doing anything.
She's in fact sewing herself into her sewing
her needlework or whatever.
She doesn't even realize it. So she's. Yeah, anyway. So he deactivates her. He being Diego deactivates his mom. What we don't see is then in the next episode, everybody assumes that it was the attackers, Hazel and Cha-Cha, that deactivated the mom. Which, I wonder if Luther actually thinks that. Because I feel like there was a moment there where he was kind of just agreeing to agree. But it seems pretty obvious that Hazel and Cha-Cha are not subtle. They are like, hit thing with hammer till it break. And the fact that somebody came in and like cut a couple of wires doesn't really suggest that that's what they would have done.
No.
But in any case, I guess there'll be some moment when they realiase Diego did it, and there'll be some little emotional moment about that.
I mean,
I don't think they'll blame him too much for it.
Might not,
Yeah.
Because it's obviously not. I shouldn't say obviously, but it's not the last we see of her. So.
Okay. Well, one thing that. Okay. Well, good. Maybe this is. So you've looked ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. I have not. I'm stopped at episode 4 at this point. But it did occur to me as I'm watching this scene, which I thought was pretty emotionally effective, to think, well, she is a robot. You could just turn her back on, probably at some point. You just put a new wire in there and
maybe
ta-da! Look, she's alive.
Well, but sometimes machines, the parts in them that maybe the guy who created it created, and therefore you can't just put a new part in there.
Can't get that part. You can't order that. You get it from Napa or whatever.
Yeah.
So
I'm guessing.
You're guessing. So you've seen how many episodes ahead?
I'm just one ahead.
You're just one ahead. Okay, but she shows up, and it's not in a flashback. She's actually like up and running. Or
yes.
All right. Okay, we'll just leave it at that. Okay. Okay. So the other sequence or the other relationship, I should say, that Diego has that's not, in my mind, quite as effectively portrayed, is this former girlfriend of his, the cop, Patch, I believe was her last name. And I don't know. It's just.
I mean, they did a lot to sort of suggest, like, oh, why don't you do it my way instead of, why don't you break the rules instead of following the law? Because she's a cop. That's just her job.
Indeed.
And so, instead of waiting for backup, the way a cop would, she goes in and gets herself killed.
Yes, good point. She ascribes to the Diego method.
Yes.
And pays for it. Yeah, I mean it feels a little bit like she got she's a fridged girlfriend a little bit, what they call fridging, where the hero's girlfriend gets killed off and it's just she's just a means to revenge.
Sure, and hopefully it's not a Star-Lord Thanos moment where Diego's anger about it leads to the problem that we have.
Oh, I see what you mean. Because yes, you're saying the ultimate apocalypse, perhaps. Much like Star-Lord.
Yes.
Causes half the people to go bye-bye.
Right, his anger over the death of his girlfriend.
So let's go to that moment for a second. It's the moment when Patch is killed. She tracks down Klaus, who's been kidnapped by Hazel and Cha-Cha, our assassins. He's been tortured for an entire episode, practically, in his hotel room. She tracks him down. She's rescuing him. She takes off his bindings. And then
the
Hazel,
selfish, annoying...
Yeah. Who annoys the assassins as much as he annoys us.
Yes.
Okay, but... So Hazel, one of the assassins, steps out of the bathroom. It's like, hey... I put my gun down and everything's fine. Okay, we the audience are like, well, there's another assassin there. Patch is in trouble and doesn't realize it. Klaus he's unbound. He's got his tape off his face.
Does he have his tape off his face?
He has tape off his face.
Okay.
And he doesn't say anything at that point. Like he doesn't say,
by
the way, there's another one right behind you.
Yeah. No, he doesn't say that.
Or not behind. He doesn't know where the other one is, but there's two of them.
He doesn't say that.
You even mentioned the fact that he does have number 6, the ghost of number 6, hangs out with him. Hell, the ghost could have even gone, oh, look, out in the hallway, the Cha-Cha's coming down the... Whatever. He basically leaves her to die, and I have a feeling that's going to be relevant later.
And as an
it's
aside...
a very unheroic thing.
As an aside, we didn't initially think that he would be of any help in a battle.
Right.
But that would certainly be helpful.
True, using ghosts to be
look around and give
GPS
you information.
things.
Yeah.
Okay, like reconnaissance.
Yep.
Okay, he's our recon scout. But he very unheroically just saunters off, and he steals the case that Hazel and Cha-Cha have, which turns out to be a time travel device.
Yes.
Which he activates on a bus.
On a bus, yeah.
And
disappears.
Whoop, gone.
Yep.
To the future?
No.
Perhaps? Not to the future. Okay. So yeah, anyway, so Klaus... another thing about that death, which I thought was interesting, is Diego is in there saying goodbye to her.
Yes.
And he, the sirens are coming. He's like, oh, I can't stay. I'm sorry, I can't stay.
Right.
But he's already, touched her.
Yeah, that's true.
Cops know who he is.
Yes.
He hangs around crime scenes all the time with her.
Yes.
He's also her former love interest.
Yes.
And he's going to have maybe fingerprints or something show up at her death.
He doesn't seem very careful.
Yeah, so I'm just saying he could be a man on the run.
Although a little careful. I think, as he was leaving, he might have done something. But if he touched her...
He picked up a piece of paper, which maybe I should have been more clued in on what it was, but I'm guessing it's something that maybe Hazel and Cha-Cha were writing notes or something. But he grabbed something from the hotel room.
Right.
But point being, it could be that his reputation, he's going to be a wanted man. I'm just saying, I'm throwing that out there, that the cops may be after him for her murder. Because the alternative is go find some time traveling guys.
Sure.
So that might be a little much for them to grasp. Meanwhile, 5 has been staking out the lab where they make the fake eyes.
Yes.
Hoping for this guy to, the technician to reveal himself at some point. He does. He's doing secret payments. He says, "Oh yeah, I make fake eyes for people all the time."
Yes.
It's apparently a thing.
Will they work? I presume.
Do they work?
Well, I mean,
I guess so. It's a mechanical eye, not a fake eye. See, I just thought at first it was just a glass eye.
Maybe it is just a glass eye.
But I guess I don't know.
But people like those too.
People like them. People like them. Boop. You want to put a patch on your eye. So yeah, he's basically most of episode 5 is just staking out the lab. He then captures this guy, tortures him with a knife, whatever. Interrogates him.
Yeah,
forcefully threatens to kill him unless he gives up information. And he then goes back to the lab. Now that apparently that eyeball has been sold off or something, he's going to try to get more information on this thing. Meanwhile, Hazel and Cha-Cha have gone to the lab after
high as kites.
Yeah, and they blow it up. That was a kind of a they pull. They're like, we need to know more about Klaus, so they go through his pockets to learn about him. I'm like, just Google Umbrella Academy or his tattoo or his
Google
name.
the tattoo?
I don't know. Yeah, boop, boop, there. Umbrella tattoo, Umbrella Academy. I don't know. They know his name. They'd been to the building. The building has an address.
Yes.
I'm sure you could type it in and
you
would learn like, oh, it's a bunch of super powered, because they seem to have no idea that even that Klaus can talk to the dead, or why that when we broke into the house were they so good at fighting. And,
they didn't know.
So they're clueless.
Yeah.
About who the guy they're trying to track down. So they go through the pockets, they find his drugs, and that's how they use to torture him. Is they're like, oh, you're going through withdrawal. Our waterboarding didn't work, but if we break your drugs, then you'll. And then they have a candy bar that has big old marijuana leaf inscription on it. It's got, and they're eating it in front of him. It's not a Hershey bar, and it's obviously not, but they treat it like it is. And then they get high, and then here's my question.
This actually might be, I was thinking as you were talking, more evidence that they're from another time.
Okay.
So maybe they don't really have a conception of, hey, we should use the internet because we don't know about that. We're from the past, you see.
Oh.
Yeah.
The interweb would be, because they are using bullets from the 60s.
Is it the 60s? Yeah, okay. So that's before the internet?
That is before the internet.
And I would say probably, well, I mean, there may be edibles, but, not like looking mass-produced like that, maybe.
I got you. What do you think, though? Was their intention, let's say before they ate any candy bars and went crazy, were they going to blow up the place anyway as a message? Or did that happen only because they were high?
That's a good question.
I would prefer it that was their plan all along. Because if it was just like, oops, we blew it up because we were high, it seems kind of stupid.
It's interesting. One thing they say at the once they after that event is they realize what 5 is up to.
Right. They're like, wait, we're here to kill him, and he's trying to prevent the apocalypse.
Right. So accidentally thwarting him, certainly, so even though they didn't intentionally mean to thwart what he was trying to do, it was actually in their favor, them doing it. So,
I got the feeling, though, we might see a twist, a shift in their motivations, perhaps.
That they would also want to avert the...
Perhaps.
No.
Okay. Well, there we go. Episode 5 apparently solves that problem. Okay. Anyway, I just thought it was a little out of character for them to be kind of that incompetent in a way. Just to, oops, we accidentally got high. Now we went and blew up the lab. I don't know. It's like, but okay. Anyway, they did that, and then they scrawled, in the dirt on the van, like,
yes,
we have your brother.
We have your brother.
Which they're saying is Klaus, but it gets interpreted as 5 at one by, I believe it's Patch thinks, oh, Diego mentioned having a brother, so she
but she doesn't know enough to be able to,
right.
Or at least it doesn't seem like it. Well, I guess they didn't really go out for a long time.
It is funny. I did find this funny.
To know who won for the other.
Right, good point. She wouldn't know Klaus from 5, probably. Although she does remember the mom. She feels
that's true.
bad.
That's true.
She's like,
that
means I'm sorry about that.
Maybe you mentioned it though. That it was super important though.
But it was funny that so Klaus is being tortured from the beginning and liking it, and he even says like, look, I don't know anything, and I'm not important. Like, no one will even know I'm gone.
Right.
And it's true. The entire episode up until the last 5 minutes. Nobody knows he's gone. Which is pretty funny.
I felt like they should be like, boy, it hasn't been so bad here, actually.
Yeah, right. It's been a lot quieter.
It's been a lot quieter. I'm not as annoyed as I normally am.
Yes. We do learn that headphones are apparently very effective.
Yes.
Because they don't have the ones you put in your ear. They got the ones that sit over the top, but they're not head clamps. They're just like, boop. But like in 2 cases, one, it's Klaus walking around the house while machine guns are going off 20 feet from him.
That's a good song, though.
It's a good song.
Yeah.
Cinnamon?
It probably needs some, machine
Ricotta,
gun fire. Yeah, that's what it could use.
Staccato. I don't know why I said it. Anyway, there's that moment, and then there's the moment when he is tied up in a closet, in the hotel closet. The maid is working just outside, like 5-10 feet away, and he's trying to go, and she's got headphones on and a vacuum. Can't hear him. And so, thwarts. That was, it is kind of, I'm not sure what that was all about, other than just like a fun little moment because, the heroes, or our heroes, Hazel and Cha-Cha come back to the room like, oh, I forgot to put the Do Not Disturb sign up. Oh, he's still here. Okay. Yeah. But it was like, there was really nothing that came out of that other than
they highlighted the screw that came out of that thing, out of the grating there.
Oh, okay.
But I don't know if that has any meaning either.
Just showed another example of I guess when they got high, they were very incompetent.
Yes.
Being high makes you an incompetent time-traveling assassin.
There you go. That's
Speaking
the
of
lesson.
which, 5 seems to be... he mentions, you don't know how many people I've killed. And I'm the 4 horsemen. He's talking to his brothers. And we do know that Hazel and Cha-Cha mentioned, we're after one of our own. So it feels like he is part of some organization that they are also a part of. Although it is odd that he's the one guy that's got the actual... He doesn't need a case to time travel. But they apparently do. So they're like you and me, Paul. Just walking around, but they got a time travel case.
Yeah, I'd get really stupid when I get high.
Yeah.
There you go.
And I'm really good at killing folks. Yeah. So together, perfect. Anyway, I assume that's a plot line that's coming later. But it does make me wonder. We saw 5. He was at the Hargreaves house back in the day in the flashback.
There you go.
And then his dad's like, hey, don't try to time travel because you'll get stuck. And he's like, screw you, Dad.
Yeah.
Whoa. And we see him stuck in the post-apocalyptic future.
Yes, we do see that.
So it seems odd then that if he is indeed part of an organization, how did that happen? Because it seems like he was stuck out there for a long time. Okay. In the next episode, it sounds like. All right. Well, there you go. Episode 5 will tell us. See, I'm 1 episode behind in my theories. I need to jump 2 episodes ahead so that you can't know. All right. Damn it. All right. Speaking of which, probably something else that gets resolved is this. we called it, but I'm not going to claim any prizes for it. Suspicious boyfriend.
Oh yeah.
Leonard. Vanya's beau just screams secret villain the whole time, and sure enough, by the end of episode 4, it's more or less confirmed he's secret villain. We see that he's being really nice to her, and she loves the attention. You can imagine that.
Yeah.
Someone who's always been like pushed aside.
Was that he? I mean. When he first meets Allison, and he says, "Hey, you're that famous person," and then he's like, "Oh, weren't you part of the Umbrella Academy?" And then, "Oh, does that mean you were?" But no, you're not. And then he says, "Oh, what is it like?" He makes a Beatles Stones reference or whatever. What was that?
Yeah. Fifth Beatle. She
says,
"I was the fifth Beatle." It's like, I prefer the Stones.
Yeah. See, which is something else to be suspicious.
That's right. How would you possibly like the Stones over the Beatles? No. So yeah, and he also brings up his dad again. I noticed that where he's like, "Oh, my dad didn't want me," or something like that. I'm like, okay, this guy is working on behalf of his dad. Either his dad was killed off by the Umbrella Academy, and he's trying to get revenge for his dad, or his dad is alive and he's working on behalf of his dad. But one way or another, villainous plot. And they've decided Vanya's the weak link to hit for maybe taking down the Umbrella Academy, or they want her. Maybe they just want her powers. It sounds like he breaks into her place while she's gone. Allison kind of stumbles in on him. He's like, "Oh, I have to go to the bathroom." I'm like, okay, whatever. That was awkward. But then at the very end, we see him with Vanya's pills. He's by himself in his own place, talking to her on the phone, and he's emptying her pills down the drain. Yeah. Okay, so her pills are get the idea that that's what's dampening her powers. She's been on them forever. She thinks it kind of reminds me of James McAvoy in Wanted. Remember that movie where he takes those anti-anxiety meds and then he stops taking them and then he can shoot around corners. Any case, so yes, the drugs are dampening her abilities, so he wants to release her abilities in some way for some nefarious purpose. Yes. If I had to guess, because they set it up twice with the first chair she hasn't lost in 5 years.
Yes.
I assume once the drugs are off. Going up to 5th position. Okay, anyway, and then she'll kick the ass of the first chair.
Well.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So. There's that. So I did think it was an interesting thematically that you've got Vanya is taking this medicine. She doesn't realize she has powers, but she's taking the medicine is dampening her powers.
Yes.
We have Klaus, who has these sees dead people.
Yes.
I see dead people, and he takes drugs
yes.
to essentially dampen his powers.
Sure.
So he's kind of at half capacity until the drugs start wearing off, and then he's like, "Oh, look, I can talk to him." And you got Allison as with her. I heard a rumor she just swore off using the power.
Yeah.
And so you've got these these superheroes that have all basically sworn off using their powers. It's kind of interesting, or not sworn them off, but
don't
their
have
powers are
access to
nullified.
the powers.
Yeah. So okay. Klaus, we find his background was as a kid, he could talk to the dead, but he was scared of the dead beings around him. Who wouldn't be? So as the way to train him in it, his dad threw him in a crypt, locked him in the dark. When he begged to come out, he's like, 3 more hours. So some tough love, if that's even love, from Daddy Hargreaves. Becomes difficult for me even then to feel compassion for that kid. But I feel a little compassion for that.
That time, yes.
Yeah,
but
as the adult version of him is it's just a weasel and a.
they're painting a picture of a dysfunctional family.
Yeah, the whole these super-powered kids, like these powers that anybody on paper you'd be like, oh, I'd love to have that power, how it just led to them all being dysfunctional.
And in a way, I think it takes us back to the premise of the show, which is like, who killed the father? You could certainly say that that's Klaus's motivation for wanting to kill him.
Sure.
Sure. That there. And I'm not as sold about Diego. I mean, we don't actually see the ways in which he's an abusive father. Just like you can assume the fact that he was unfeeling and that he put it,
he probably was a jerk to him about his stuttering. We could probably guess.
Maybe, yeah.
Although interestingly, when Diego is deactivating his mom, he mentions to her like he realizes that the mom was a robot created by the dad.
Yes.
And so he said, I forgot his exact words, but he's basically like, "Are you dad?"
It was Vanya who suggested that to him. She was saying, have you ever thought that it's really dad saying all that stuff through her because he created her?
Yeah.
So that's what made him want to question her, to be like, is it you saying this or is it you through our dad through you? And she has no way of understanding his line of questioning.
Right.
Which
That's
I would
meta.
expect even if she wasn't deteriorating.
Yeah, that would be like a meta over the top of a robot.
Although they're really setting up something weird because they keep talking about how, and you can believe that it's just her sort of, being, sort of malfunctioning. But, it might be
there was
a
that
Hal
moment.
situation.
True. There was that moment when Luther and I think it's Allison are asking her questions, and she is being evasive, not malfunctioning evasive, but like, I'm not talking about
this. I can't talk about it, perhaps.
Yeah. So that
then one thing happened. They're like, what happened? Here's your breakfast.
Yeah, right. And switching subject, distract. So yeah, there's more to that story, obviously. But very interesting. Obviously the episode 4 is entitled "Man on the Moon," which would be a reference to Luther, who spent, at least we learned, like the last 4 years on the moon. We're not sure why he's there yet, but he was hanging out on the moon for a while. But we also see that 7 years ago, he was the only Umbrella Academy kid left in the house, which I thought was very interesting. So he wakes up, there's a mission, and then he walks by all the empty bedrooms that are still all like made up. I guess the mom is probably still cleaning up all the rooms. Sure. And he goes and talks to Reginald Hargreaves. He's like, "Well, there's a biochemical weapon and it's dangerous in the wrong hands.
Go number one."
And he's like, "Well, you don't have to call me number one anymore. There's no one else here." And but yeah, he doesn't change his mind on it. But yeah, so it surprised him that there were no other kids in the house. That was
I think he was actually just not realizing that should affect how he should treat it.
How he should treat it, how he should call number one. So number one,
like he would notice like and till the other.
So Dad was going senile first. So they, Luther goes off on this mission by himself, gets grievously hurt, mortally wounded, basically, brought back, and then to save his life, they inject him with a serum that basically turns everything but his head. Well, even as he was growing a beard, his head still looks human, but his body looks like a gorilla's body. I don't know if eventually it'll spread to his top of his face. I don't know.
Who knows?
I thought it was interesting that it was Pogo, our chimpanzee butler, that gives the serum to Dr. Hargreaves. I always thought, well, maybe whatever made him a sentient English-speaking chimp is the same serum that's being worked on. I don't know.
Interesting theory.
But so it saves his life. It doesn't seem like he blames his dad for doing that to him, although like Diego points it up like, "Oh, look what he did! He threw you on a mission by yourself, and then he threw a gorilla body on you." There's that sense of when he gets hurt, and we get the reveal after the big fight in the house on episode 3. He immediately runs away. The shame of I don't want to. He's been hiding this thing from them the whole time.
Yes.
And so then it's a nice touching scene with Allison, because they were obviously an item once upon a time, and he's been on the moon as a half gorilla man since then.
Does that squick you out?
What's that?
Allison and Luther.
What about it?
Does it squick you out?
What does that mean?
Squick meaning gross you out.
Oh. Just because
they're supposed to be adopted.
Oh, not really.
Yeah,
they're not flesh and blood relation, and
I
don't know. They grew up together, but it's more like they grew up in an academy.
School. Yeah,
right. Like they were in a dorm room together.
Tell us what you think.
Yeah.
But that's what I've seen some people sort of saying.
I mean, they are zero relation to each other. They're not even cousins.
Right. That's true. Well, we actually don't know.
Well, good point. We could have kids from the same,
right? Because they're all under the same, situation.
Let's put it this way: they don't think they're related, whether they are or not. They would have no reason to think.
They don't think they're actually related.
Right.
But they do call each other brother and sister.
Okay. I get it. There's a little like a little, but I don't know.
And I wonder to the extent that because that's what they're setting up. I mean, they say we know, or maybe it's the next.
Yeah, a lot of people are. Yeah, Vanya's like, yeah, everybody knew.
Yeah,
we all knew.
Yeah, but and so we don't really know if that's the reason why, because they are saying that that's what you're trying to hold on to. So we don't know if that's the reason why she left or what.
Well, it seems like, so what I get is Allison did not know he was Gorilla Body Man.
Right.
Right. Until this present day.
Yes.
Okay. So there had to be...
But she left before that.
She had left. She left 7 years ago. Or, well, maybe before that, actually. By 7 years ago, no one else is in the house.
Right. So she left.
So at that point, he becomes Gorilla Man. Then for 3 years-ish, he's still apparently on Earth, maybe doing missions, whatever.
Yeah.
Then at some point decides to go to the moon. In that whole time, he never, he hid his deformity, if you want to call it that. The moment where she's like, oh, why didn't you tell me? And she tries to touch his face, and he's like, he's like, I can't. And you get the I could see how he doesn't feel human anymore, right? Yeah. He's like, I am not a human being anymore.
Yes.
And I don't know how to process that. And so anyway, I thought that was a touching moment. Yeah. Their relationship has changed irrevocably, or maybe not irrevocably, but it's changed pretty strongly due to the fact that he is, only partially human at this point. So we've talked about Diego. I mean, Diego lost 2 people important to him in the course of it. Was like, oof, they're hitting him with the emotional devastation.
You have to ask yourself: is that they're setting him up to be more associated with whatever event happens that causes the apocalypse?
Right. I can see that. Although we do see his dead body in the rubble.
Right, but I mean, he might be the one instigating it. Again, he might be the Star-Lord.
Star-Lord. It did occur to me. So 5 gets drunk after the lab blows up because he's despondent. He can't avoid the apocalypse anymore. My point was just like, well, there's a lot of have a lot of other clues. You suspect, at least from getting the mechanical eye that was in Luther's dead hand at the Umbrella Academy, that the apocalypse starts at the Umbrella Academy. So you're in the past now. You can change the future. In fact, his body isn't seen in the rubble. So that means he's already changing the past in, the timeline by being here. I don't know, I feel like he gave up rather quickly at this. Like, well, I can't track this eye back to a guy.
We don't know that he said, oh, well, it's going to happen anyway. I don't want to be here for the explosion. We don't know that.
So, anyway, that's how he gets found. Luther and Diego find him and, bring him back. They're sobering him up.
Right.
So that's 5's story. We've got Diego's story. We've got Allison's story. The Allison story is kind of interesting too. Well, she's got. Yes. We know why she stopped saying I heard a rumor, because she was using it on her kid.
Yes.
She was using it as parenting technique. Like, I heard a rumor you like broccoli. I love broccoli.
Well, she said talk about how she couldn't make her stop crying. Basically. Yeah. So
I heard a rumor you don't cry,
or something. Yeah.
So she, well, I'm just saying.
I had a rumor that you clean up your room. Yeah. No, it's not that.
It's not that? Okay. I mean, if you did, I heard a rumor you clean up your room every day. Every hour of every day. I don't know. You could do it horribly, but okay. You're saying she did something. You're saying there's a version of it she could use and it would be okay?
I'm saying...
I heard a rumor you brush your teeth every day.
I'm saying that
but you're making her do it against her will, is my point.
Yes, right. But, well, yes, that's true. But, she's... I think perhaps paralleling women that really hurt their children when they can't, it's like, oh, I can't deal with the stress of dealing with a baby or whatever. So she... perhaps, and she explains it sort of as desperation. I couldn't make no matter what I said. Well, until she did that.
Until she did I heard a rumor.
Yeah. So
preface it. So she used her mind manipulation Purple Man powers on her kid, and that's why her kid is being taken away from her, and her ex-husband is getting custody. And so it's a pretty devastating thing. You can see how that might affect one.
Yes.
So she's sworn off the power. I assume at some point she will stop swearing off the power, and we'll see it used in some trying to avert the end of the world, for instance. Who else are we missing? We talked about Vanya, Hazel, and Cha-Cha. Maybe spent a little too much time on them, because it doesn't seem like they're the actual big bads of this season. But maybe
until they
wrong.
introduce it, they need
for
to,
now they are, and they're the centerpiece. Action scenes have revolved around them. So
yeah, and obviously, I mean, I expect that the scenes you're particularly could do without are the diner scenes.
Sure.
Where he's talking to the waitress or whatever. So clearly they're trying to set something up.
I do. Yeah, good point. I like she might be short-lived in this world, but I guess I do appreciate the fact that Hazel.
Well, I was more thinking like it might create some motivation for him to do something.
Okay. They'll maybe switch sides or something. I don't know. You say they don't switch sides though, so never mind. Okay.
Not in the next episode.
Okay. But it occurred to me that what I like is that Hazel comes off as like he's bored with his job. He's like, he even mentions it a couple of times, like, I was just bored and I did a thing where he's talking about
saving somebody.
Yeah, or he's like, I just thought I'd make it more challenging, so I gave him a head start and then I didn't kill him. But he's always complaining about management, like, yes. We have to stay in this hotel, and they don't give us enough of a meal allowance, and
and they're reducing the amount they're getting paid.
Right, the 7% per day goes down, and so there's that sense of like he's doing it for the paycheck, like he feels almost like a working stiff, as opposed to like, I don't know, he's not. He's
more than a paycheck.
He's not Mr. Smith, from Matrix. Mr.
No,
Person.
He's not.
He's more of a. But you're saying he's doing it for more than okay. So it sounds like you know more, based on episode 5.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So I'm premature in my description, but I did appreciate. I like that angle. It's a kind of a comedic angle of like, hey, like he's the equivalent of like, I wash dishes.
Yeah. It's like
I time travel and kill people. The hours. Oh boy.
It's like
my aching back.
The coyote and the sheepdog.
Yeah, right. Yeah, very much so. In a little cartoon. So anyway, there you go. I don't know, that's pretty good. We got our episodes 3 and 4. We will be back talking about episodes 5 and 6. We're talking about Discovery, a little movie called Captain Marvel.
Oh yeah,
is coming out.
Yeah.
And we'll do some more Lord of the Rings stuff
and
as well.
I believe next week, New Gods.
Oh damn! It's already out. The American Gods.
American Gods, yes. Will next week.
They will be a new American Gods.
Yes.
And also just FYI, I'm sure you've already seen it, but the Game of Thrones trailer, season 8 trailer, just dropped. Woo! Me likey. All right. Anyway, so we'll be talking about that. Not the trailer necessarily, but the show once it comes out in mid-April. So with that, bye everybody.